Guys, it's me, Tiffany. So I know there's always a little bit of background noise, whether it's my neighbor or a cat, but there's gonna be a beeping noise probably. I haven't tested to see if you actually hear it, but if you hear a beeping noise, my next door neighbors recently moved out and their fire alarm just won't stop going off, and I've waited about 4 or 5 days to record any videos or do any audio on my other channel because of it. They've checked it, there's no carbon monoxide, nothing's on fire, it just won't stop going off. And my landlords, frankly, just aren't changing out the fire alarm, so there is literally nothing I can do unless maybe, I don't know how long I'm gonna have to take to record it for it to stop going off. So it is what it is. Hopefully it's not that bad. So 5 books that I hated that were second books in the series. This does not mean I hate the series itself. This doesn't mean that I think you're trash if you did like these books or like the one series that I hated. But this is just 5 times where I'm just like, ugh, do I really want to finish this series after reading the second book? And these are in no particular order. Okay, so I don't know if the first one I mentioned is the most popular book on my list. There's 2 that are really popular, and I don't know who really wins on the popular scale. This one has a little bit less criticism because the other one's author has gotten into some problematic issues, which I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I don't, I've heard more criticisms about the author than the actual book itself on the other one, so I don't know. But P.S. I Still Love You. I read this a while back, so my memory is not absolutely perfect on this. But when I first read this, because of BookTube, the 3rd book had just been out for 4 or 5 months, and there was a ton of people still pushing like Forever Laura Jean, like in your face. And I read the entire trilogy. I didn't care for it, but I was like, I need to see what's going on with this. And I didn't hate it. But when it came to this trilogy, I liked the 1st book the most and the 3rd book the last, so I guess it just kind of got worse for me. I do love the first 2 Netflix movies, and I know some people don't like them, but I feel like the story format for this, in my opinion, the way I consumed it, it worked better in a rom-com movie than I enjoyed reading it. It just showed a little bit more of the cutesy, quirky, funny stuff, in my opinion. Also, the way this is written, I remember getting frustrated with Laura Jean, and I know I'm not a teenager or whatever. When I read this, I wasn't a teenager, but I was closer in my 20s to a teenager. I think I was like 20, 21 maybe. And maybe 22. And I felt like she was trying to write a teenager, but was thinking of a 12-year-old that happened to get into a relationship. Because some of the stuff, she felt immature even for her age. And I mean, I know that's possible, especially when you're living at home and you haven't experienced like maybe like relationships. I'm not gonna say the real world, but you haven't experienced real relationships yet. But, and some people are reserved, some people, I was just like, this feels really young even for the age she's supposed to be. But that's my opinion. But I do love the Netflix movies. The actress for Laura Jean's really good. So maybe I just didn't like it in a book format. Maybe the actress kind of, because she does still seem young in the movie, but she felt appropriately, like, I know she's supposed to be innocent even for her age, but it felt appropriately innocent, Okay, so the second book I want to talk about, there was 2 of the 5 books I could not get from the library, and since this is just for a video and I'm not rereading, if they had a really long waiting list, I wasn't going to sit there and take the book away from somebody who actually want to read it. But with P.S. like I Still Love You, there was 6 books available because the way the situation works is they're pulling them from all the libraries where I'm at, like within an hour, and there were 6 available, so I didn't feel bad grabbing the book for it because it wasn't in high demand. And this one, there's 10 copies of the book, and there are 60 people ahead of me. I'm not going to try to take that away from anybody. And either way, when I read this book, it was audio. Dragonflies in Amber, the second book in the Outlander series. I have a weird relationship with Outlander. I have not finished the series. It is a big series and every book's chunky, and the next book that I'm supposed to read in the series is over 1,000 pages. And while normally I would jump heads first into it, my complicated feelings of the series, I love the first one, I love the third one, absolutely hated the second one, hated the first half of the fourth one, and loved the end. So because of that, makes me hesitant. But the second book was just so boring. It felt like, I mean, I know all these books are big, but it felt really bloated. I felt like everything could have been fixed way too easily, and I know that's kind of a common thing in a lot of books and a lot of movies, that a little bitty thing probably could have fixed the whole thing and we wouldn't have whatever story that we're talking about. But I was miserable and I almost didn't finish it, but I was given like a code for the first 5 books, actually. Now that I'm on the 5th book, I'm thinking about it. I was given the code for the first 5 books on Audible by somebody, and I felt bad at the time if I just didn't make it through it. And I love Voyager, the 3rd book, so I'm glad I did, but I probably will never reread the series, and it's not because of the length, because I hated the 2nd book that much. Okay, this next one is something that I read when I had Kindle Unlimited for free. They had the audiobooks for this one available. Not every Kindle Unlimited book offers the audiobook, but this one did. One of my close friends loved the trilogy, and there is a 4th book, but from what I understand, it's not instantly with the story. And this is one I just kind of read through, even though I kind of didn't care. And that is The Glass Magician. I don't know, I have like a weird thing about like apprentices, boss, teacher, the other person in that dynamic's relationships. Like, they are consenting adults and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's usually not a story aspect that I care about. And I know that probably makes me biased, but this is a ranking video. I could be biased as long as I'm honest about those biases, right? I didn't like how the conflict from the first book transferred into this book. I thought it was done very sloppily, and I don't know, I just felt like they were just trying to write I don't know what they were trying to write, but I didn't like this. I know some people do. I don't get it. I legitimately don't get it. And I finished the trilogy just because it was free, and my best friend, and he never recommends me books. Like, he's recommended me like maybe 5 books, and I've known him for 10, 11 years. And we've both read the entire time we've known each other. He might say, like, if I've seen he read a book on Goodreads, like, yeah, that was a good book. But he never just straight up like, hey, read this. And he did that with this trilogy. So I felt compelled that I had to do it. Okay, so I'm trying to keep this smooth. There's a second book that I couldn't get from the library because it had too long of a waiting list for me to justify grabbing it. I'm just gonna put it here so, you know, it's like book picture. Is Gemini, or Gemini. I think it's Gemini. Yeah, it's Gemini because Illuminae. All right. I liked Illuminae, and I did both of these through the audiobook because just for me personally, I do think the physical books look cool. I haven't tried to read the physical books, but you know, all 3 books were out by the time I got around to this because I was trying to read more sci-fi, and I thought maybe a light YA sci-fi might be the way to go. And when I saw the formats of the book, you know, I flipped through them because it's easy to flip through without getting spoiled, because some of them spin around in certain shapes and some spin in pages, blah, blah, blah. And I have read some books like that, but this trilogy umps this up a level if you haven't seen them. And my brain just can't comprehend that. I don't have a learning disability or anything, but it makes it hard for me to focus. And the second book, I just did not care about. The audio production was really good, just the same as the first book, but I just did not give a crap about the second couple. Like, it's a different couple from the first book, and I'm not sure because I haven't read the third book, because I just said, screw this trilogy, I do not care, I'm no longer continuing if I don't like it, kind of thing. And I just hated the second book that much, because usually if I hate one book but I love the other, I might give the third one a shot, because maybe it was just like the rough book in the series. And I just did not give a crap. I'm just like, can you just go on somewhere? And since the third book is like, I think both those couples put together, am I only supposed to care about half the book? No. So I gave up. The last book I want to talk about is the one that I said could be tied for which one's the most popular on the list. And as I mentioned before, I know the author has some problematic things, but I'm not going to talk about that here necessarily. But I guess one aspect of it does pop up, but it's more of a problematic with the story than the author herself, maybe. I don't know. I don't know much about this author. I didn't look into her much, but I've been on Twitter enough to see things, and Twitter will rip you a new one if you mess up. Just being honest, sometimes the stuff they rip into people, I'm just like, some of them definitely do deserve it, don't get me wrong, but they will rip you a new one, and they are not afraid to rip you a new one. City of Ashes. I liked the first one, like City of Bones. Like, it wasn't like magical to me. Like, I read City of Bones like right at the end of 2018. Like, I think it was like December. So I do love fantasy. I still like YA fantasy even though I'm in my 20s. But City of Ashes, I think, took what City of Bones had that I like and just kind of out the window, you know, just yeeted it. And I know with the incest and stuff, that's a hot topic, but it took me a year to read the third book because I hated it so much, and I really considered just dropping anything Cassandra Clare because I hated this one so much. Everybody annoyed me. I'm like, everybody's stupid. I didn't really like how conflict went down. I did not like the enemy that much in this book. And the things I really liked in the first book, this ruined it. But now that I read City of Glass, I'm kind of glad I did, because she reeled in a lot of stuff that I had a problem with in this book, the characterization and whatnot. But you know, the incest plotline is kind of dumb. And I haven't read anything else by Cassandra Clare. I've been meaning to pick up the Clockwork trilogy since I know it's supposed to be better. I just haven't gotten around to it just because there's other books I'm more excited about. And while I didn't hate 2 of the 3 books, you know, I'm just like, I'm more excited about other books, you know, and I missed the hype train, but because I know how hyped they are, I don't know if my expectations were higher than they should have been. But the way they did the characters in this one book felt weird, in my opinion, compared to the first and the third book. It really made me put off reading City of Glass for an entire year. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I just thought it'd be neat to talk about which second books in series that I disliked, and if you have any books that are second, or heck, if you hated any of the other books in these series that I mentioned, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear it, and I will see you next time.